Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of House of Bricks Live, and I am feeling awesome today. So I've been talking a little bit about The Dark Knight Rises, one of my favorite movies, Batman, and it really speaks to the brick by brick mentality. But at times, building brick by brick can really grind you down. And so we need these moments of light, but there's that special time when you're in the darkness and just before the light comes, you really see that the things that you're holding on to and you thought were giving you strength are actually weaknesses. So I always tell people to embrace the valley. And when you start to lose things, you're not losing yourself. You're losing the things around you that are distracting you from knowing who you are. And so the House of Bricks, we're all about transparency and authenticity. And recently we launched an initiative called What the Truck. And of course, my sons have found ways to make fun of me for What the Truck. But I think it's a great slogan, and it's really building momentum here. We had a great Independence Day launching it, coming up on Veterans Day, some really great things coming along. And I liken entrepreneurship to being a soldier. And the reason is that the startup life is a battlefield, right? And 9 out of 10 startups fail. And we're trying to make that connection between entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, to these veterans that have served our country. They have incredible stories. They've had a lot of sacrifice, but that comes with a cost. But we're here to recognize that sacrifice and create opportunities in that connection. And so enough about the House of Bricks and What the Truck. So we'll jump into today's guest, Brandon Jenkins, retired Navy officer, certified executive leadership coach, and founder of Tier 1 Coaching. After 22 years leading sailors and developing high-performing teams, Jenks, they call him, discovered that climbing the ladder wasn't the same as living with purpose. That realization set him on a new mission and helping leaders uncover their blueprint, bring clarity around their values, passion, and purpose so they can empower their teams to thrive. Jenks, welcome to the House of Bricks.
Hey, Adam, it's great to be here. I'm super grateful that you asked me to come on.
It's amazing to have you, and I don't know why I'm fumbling my words. I'm usually pretty dialed in, so I had to get a little drink of coffee. But during your Navy career, you were asked why you wanted to become a commanding officer. And I love this answer, and I do prep for these shows. Your answer was because it's the next step, changed everything for you. Walk us through that moment, how it shifted your perspective on leadership and life.
Yeah, it was in the middle, actually towards the end of my department head tour, which would kind of be like, if you've got the CEO of a company, the department heads are kind of like the directors, if you will, inside the company. And so it was that tour for me where I was in charge of the maintenance of 12 aircraft and about 200 maintainers. And I had done okay during that tour, done pretty well. And the commanding officer brought me in his office for a counseling session. And was just like, all right, Jenks, doing pretty well here. Next step is getting screened for commanding officer. Why do you want to be one? And like you just said, Adam, at the time, the only thing that I could think of was, well, it's the next step. I'm on this path. And in the Navy, they call it the golden path. And it's a very specific set of orders to take. And you do well at this set of orders, and then you take the next set of orders. And then if you keep doing well, then you're on the path to keep promoting and keep getting those opportunities. And in that moment, thank God I had a commanding officer who was a great commanding officer and a great mentor to me. Because the next thing he said was, I don't think that's quite enough, Jenks. He's like, this, if you want to keep going down this path and you want to be a CEO at that leadership level, there's just a lot of weight on your shoulders. There's a lot of responsibility at a family at the time, kids. And he's like, you are going to make a lot of sacrifices for whatever squadron you would be the CO of. I think you need to start thinking a little bit more about, why is that important? Something beyond it's just the next step. And so, yeah, that changed the way I looked at things, Adam.
Well, and I was just going back up to what I said earlier in your introduction, and I want to drill into this a little bit. So, discovering that climbing the ladder wasn't the same as living with purpose. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be applied to just about every part of somebody's life. In this context, it was my career, it was the military. And what I mean is, I think there's a golden path fallacy out there, no matter what you're doing. And that fallacy is when you're just following the steps that have been laid out by somebody else. Maybe it was a mentor, maybe it's just the culture that you live in. And so you just do these things, whether it's, I graduate high school, I got to go to college and get a 4-year degree. And then I graduate from that, I got to get a job. And then, right. And you just climb the steps and maybe buy a house and marry somebody and have kids or whatever. And I think that somebody can do that and they can be successful by those societal terms, by the culture's terms. They can be successful following that path. However, then they could still find themselves kind of burnt out, kind of wondering like, what the heck is all this for? Right. And so what I mean by breaking the fallacy, escaping that fallacy, it's when you start with yourself and you kind of determine, all right, what are my core values here? What are my passions? What is my unique purpose on the planet? Or if you don't even want to go to that scale, what's my unique purpose on this team? Like, why am I in the role that I'm in? What's so special about me? And when you start with that kind of clarity, now you can take that path that you're on and you can start saying, all right, where does this path and the things I have to do on it, where does that line up with me and what's important to me and with that purpose that I'm talking about? And when you start to get that alignment, it feels different. It's like a weight off. You find yourself in that flow state more often and you just feel more fulfilled.
Yeah, and I'm feeling that flow state today. So I'm a faith-based guy and just getting back into the word a little bit. And it actually ties into what I read this morning, which was, talking about only a fool tries to build a building without first considering the cost. And so people talk to me all the time. Hey, I want to start a business. What do you think of this business idea? The first thing I do is I try to talk them out of it, because if you give up on the first time, you're not ready to be an entrepreneur. You better get ready to get beaten down most of the time. 80 to 90% of the time we spend in the struggle zone. And there really isn't a right answer, right? Like you may be in a season of wanting to build a business, but like you just brought up, what is the cost? What's the collateral damage to your family, to your relationships? And there's those different seasons, right? And it has to be right for you. And we, talk about that brick by brick mentality. But if you don't know what building you're building, you're just building a pile of bricks and running yourself into the ground. And hey, I've gone through a lot of that in building this. It's the toughest thing I've ever done, to build a community, build a personal brand, but it's worth it. We're making an impact. And again, there's always a give and take in those situations and relationships. So hats off to your mentor for pausing you in that moment, because obviously you have a lot of talent, you have a lot of capabilities, potential. He could have just let you ride the wave and end up in a different place. So after that conversation, what happened next?
Well, I basically told myself I've got to get a little bit more serious, a little bit more introspective about the things that we've already touched on a little bit, right? Values, strengths, unique strengths to me, passions. What am I passionate about? What really gives me energy, ignites me, makes me feel, how you feel when you're all energized and you're feeling it up in the chest and the shoulders and up in the head. Like, what are those things that do it for me? And to clarify kind of purpose, like what makes Jenks Jenks. And so that started me on the path. And I took it kind of by myself, like just introspective, and I was reading books, and I've always been kind of a reflective guy anyway. Start with Why was a big influence for me after that. And I just kind of took it from there by myself. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit because that was a couple years of that. And then I did screen to be a commanding officer. And so I knew that all that was going to come into play very soon. And so I'll fast forward it to just prior to taking command. I was the XO, so I was the second in command of the squadron. In a squadron, a typical helicopter squadron in the Navy for my community was about 300 or so people. And so I was sitting in the seat as the second in command, the executive officer, getting ready to become the first in command of the squadron, the commanding officer. And I had done all that personal reflection, which was great, really helped me get to where I was. And I think I was definitely at a level beyond where I was with that first conversation with my CO when I was a department head. But there was something else missing. And this was what brought this to my attention. Was before I took command, I had a counseling session with a junior teammate who was leaving the squadron. And this was routine. And they came in for a routine kind of checkout session. And I just asked for feedback. I was like, hey, well, what do you think we could do better? What can I do better personally? What can we do better as an organization? And this junior teammate told me, well, sir, we know what the commanding officer is all about, what the commanding officer stands for. We see him all the time. He's always got his talking points or whatever. We know what he's about. We know what he's like, but we don't really know much about you. And I was like, boom, like there's another, like just smack in the face realization that, because up until that point, I thought I'm doing a pretty good job here. I'm getting ready to take command. I'm ready to go. I'm real introspective, real reflective. Boom, slap in the face. Hey, nobody really knows what's in your head, Jenks. Right. Nobody really knows that you're ready or what you stand for, what what you value. And so I hired a coach. Long story short from there is I hired a coach because I knew in that moment, you know what, that's right. I need to get even more clarity about this and also find my own unique way to start to show my team those things.
Yeah. And I want to highlight something, just kind of a checkpoint here for us in this conversation, because I know people listen to these podcasts and then are like, oh, I got to find my why. It's like how you found your why was through progress, right? You don't start with your why, you start with your why not. And then the more progress you make, the more action it creates, the more feedback you get, the better decisions you can make as you progress. So you had a mentor, right, that called you out a little bit. You had someone underneath you, which speaks to your leadership. They could have just not cared who you are and just follow the orders. So it really speaks to, again, who you are, for your team to be able to say those things. And I have an open door policy. Paul will tell you, anyone on my team, I don't know everything. I try to lead from the bottom up, right? The people underneath you see things that you may not see, or see it in a different way. So as a leader, create that environment, that culture where people can give you feedback, and then also be receptive to mentors, coaches. I say this all the time, and I'll say it till I die. If Michael Jordan needed a coach for basketball, every person should have a coach for anything they do. So if you're working with someone that is a coach or an advisor and they don't have an advisor, run for the hills, because we need that outside view, someone that's above the boat to see really where we're going and see things that we can't see. So you get that feedback. I want to run through that story with you. If you've been following the House of Bricks, we have this test, fail, learn, grow flywheel, is really how we create that action. Of course, we're going to fail on the first time. And a lot of people stop after that failure, but it's in that failure where you can really learn how to get that growth. And it's not a one and done decision. It's an iterative process. It's how we built the house of bricks. It's how we do things. It's just testing, failing, learning, and growing. So what were you trying to do at this time in your career? What was the test that you took?
I was preparing to enter the most leadership responsibility position of my entire career. Up until that point, I had led maybe a team of a couple, 150 to 200, like I said, as a department head. I was an OIC of 30 folks out on a detachment, but this was going to be the first time where I was going to be the commanding officer of the squadron, 300 plus people, 10 to 12 aircraft at any given time, depending on, how many we're giving up and getting before deployment. And the test for me was now like, hey, you're it. Like, you're in the seat. You're going to be in the seat. And are you ready for that? I'll stop there and let you go with that wherever you want to go.
No, well, I know exactly where I'm going to go. I'm going to tell you it didn't work out, and you haven't even told me the story yet. So you took the test. If one thing about the test, fail, learn, grow model, it fits everybody, because what we think is going to happen never happens. We fail. And again, that's where people stop. But what was the failure?
The failure was a mismatch in my situational awareness. Essentially, I thought I was in one spot and ready to rock and roll, and that I was on this new path, very introspective. I was very in touch with values, and come to find out, I had a whole team that I was in months. We're talking months away from taking command, a whole team that had no idea about any of that and didn't know what I valued at all. So what I thought was reality was actually not reality, right? So there's my situational awareness was low there. And that's not good. Any leader who's been around for a while will tell you that if situational awareness is low, a lot of bad things are going to start to happen, because you make decisions based on your situational awareness. And if it doesn't match reality, there's going to be a lot of problems. And so the fail was that mismatch between what I thought was the reality and where I was as a leader and the reality.
So we had the tests, we have the fail. I mean, it sounds like you've already learned from it, but what was the key lesson that you took from this experience? The obvious situational awareness, right? Not being clear on what the next step was, but kind of looking back, what do you see as the key lesson that you took from that experience?
Oh man.
It could be lessons, but I try to narrow it. It turns into a therapy session for people. So I say lesson to keep us on point.
I love that. Probably that, man, leadership is not paper, Excel spreadsheets, sitting behind the desk, sitting behind a closed door, knowing yourself, but just keeping it all like sitting in the office and not connecting with people. Leadership is about people, right? If you don't have any people, you're just managing processes and you're managing checklists, and that's great. And a lot of different people can do those things. But when you introduce people and needing to connect, and not only you connect with them, but helping to foster an environment where your teammates are connecting with each other, well, that requires you to actually get out there and connect with your folks. And so one of, if not the biggest lesson that my junior teammate taught me was that, hey, it's not enough for you to be a big believer in your purpose and the values. Like, we need to hear that from you, because we're a big team and we have an important mission. And A, oh, by the way, there's going to be times like you, leader, you need to communicate what that mission and vision is. And then B, we need to know who you are. What do you believe in? What do you stand for? How does that connect with what this organization stands for? How does that connect with what this organization believes in? What we believe in, right? So the big lesson was that it was like, got to get out. And you got to not only be really crystal clear about who you are, but also figure out a way to connect that to the organizational team purpose and to your teammates, and to get out there and help them connect their purpose, their values to the organizational values, because that's when when you get everybody on the team, when they're personally connected to the team mission, man, it's a different level of buy-in, a different level of trust. It's just a totally different environment.
Man, I just got mentored there. I think I may leave the stage now and just let you finish the podcast and do your thing. So that is a huge distinction. Paul, I don't know if we're making reels for this yet or not, but the difference between a leader and a manager, right? You just nailed that to a T, because a lot of leaders are just over-titled managers, right? They're not casting vision. They're managing process. They're not sharing who they are. They're telling people what to do. And there's just been a shift in this generation. When I first got into business, it was more Napoleon type leadership, dictatorship. And now people want to connect with a face, even on social media. They don't care about your trade show or your next book you're writing. They want to know who you are and tell your story. And I say this a lot, which is everyone has a story that they can tell in only the way that they can tell it. Your life creates a frequency, and you can say the same thing as I do, but it may not connect with someone else, and vice versa. But it's that frequency in your story that you tell people that impacts them in a certain way at a certain time to make a specific impact. So I'm loving this so far. So we've tested, we failed, we've learned. I just learned something new or brought to my attention on the leadership management. Spot on. What was the growth opportunity that you took away from this lesson?
So looking back, I think the huge takeaway beyond what I've already articulated was that I, as a leader, couldn't be in a position to where I could help develop my teammates and raise them up if I wasn't practicing, kind of modeling that behavior, practicing what I preached, working on myself, and then also communicating that, right? And not, like you said, you just mentioned it, not telling them what to do, but learning to help them kind of figure out them, like help them figure out the best way that they can connect their personal values and purpose to whatever the organization is doing. The fact that I couldn't really do that if I'd never worked on myself to do it, which kind of stemmed into this raise yourself, raise your team, which is one of my favorite phrases. It just kind of grounds me and reminds me, hey, look in the mirror first, right? Make sure your foundation is good. Make sure those bricks that are the building blocks, make sure they're good. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to be capable of raising your teammates up.
No, I love that. And in terms of, just as a leader, how did your experience in the military kind of transition? We say transition from the battlefield to the boardroom, but how did your time in service, help you kind of in civilian life and in business as a leader?
Well, I think that, I know that clarity of what I uniquely bring to the table for my teammates, which is to empower them to tap into their whole selves so they can go out and do that for their teams. I started to hone that. Like you said, you're exploring, you're trying to find your purpose, right? It's not just I just did this exercise, here's my why statement, go. It was all the work leading up to hiring a coach. It was hiring a coach to help me. I've been working with a coach for 5 years now, right? It's like all through there, really honing in on what you just believe you're meant to do for your team. And I did that in the military. I did that with my squadron. I did that as basically a leader development facilitator with the Naval War College, helping other senior military leaders think through these things. And really, it was my last couple years doing that work that led me to, okay, if that's my purpose, what is one of the hows? What is one of the best ways that I can continue to do that after my service? And coaching was bam, it's another one of those slap you in the face moments, because, I think back to, I hired my coach, and then I did some peer coaching work with my graduate studies at the college, and really began to see the person sitting right across from me as I was coaching just have aha moments and like gain clarity in their own life. And I was like, man, what better way to empower your teammate, to empower the person sitting across from you, than to sit with them, be with them, and help them kind of see a different perspective and figure out what they need to do for themselves, right? That's empowerment to me. Like, I figure out what I need to do for myself. You're not telling me what to do. That's disempowerment. And so those connections just happen. And I was like, man, I've got to pursue this more. And so that's where I am now, pursuing that.
Yeah. And I love that. And you talk about leaders aligning with their blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like in theory and then in reality? I'm supposed to say practice, but there's a lot of theories out there. There's a lot of books, a lot of ways to do things. And those are great ideas, but it's very tough to put those into practice. So what's the theory that you have, and then how do you actually put it into practice?
Man, I love the way you put that. Because I'm a reflector. I'm a big reflector. And so there were times in my career where I would be thinking and reflecting, and sooner or later someone needed to just say, "Hey, Jenks, just go. You just need to take some action." Certainly in my younger days. Okay, so blueprint, we've been talking about it. Blueprint is uniquely you. It is your values, your passions, your skills and strengths, your unique purpose, like what you're uniquely meant to be doing wherever you're at on the planet, whatever team you're in. Okay. And it takes some introspection and working through to kind of uncover those things. And some folks benefit from having a coach help them do that. And some folks can do that stuff without a coach, and that's fine. But that's the theory. It's like, and it's a continuous practice, lifelong practice. Like, I don't just get a list of things, and for those watching, like, this is my blueprint. So I don't just get a list of things and post them on a poster behind me, and then that's it for the rest of my life. I don't have to worry about that anymore. No, it's a continuous kind of refinement. Like, what do these things mean to me now? These parts of me, I value them differently, and they mean different things to me now versus 5 years ago when I started that journey. Okay. So it's that continual practice of being in tune with you and what really matters to you. Right. So it's not theory. I mean, that is a thing that I do and practice. However, that is probably the theoretical piece.
Yeah, because there's going to be test, fail, learn, grow, even in that, right? I mean, it applies to everything we do, but you have to have a framework. You have to know what you're building. What is that blueprint? And yours has come through a lot of failing, a lot of testing, great leadership, mentors, even people underneath you. We can, just because we have a higher title doesn't mean we can't learn from people around us. And just, I want to keep talking about your leadership methodology, but just a quick pause or diversion with the What the Truck initiative. I don't know if you're up to speed on it or not, but essentially we donated a Ford Raptor to a veteran. It's supposed to be a vehicle, not just a vehicle, but the vehicle to raise awareness for mental health and veteran suicide. I've had veterans on here, unfortunately have attempted to take their own life. 20, they say 22. I'm sure it's way more than that they report take their own life. When you made that transition into civilian life, did you have a gap there? Because when you're in the military, you've got your unit, you've got your tribe, you're being told what to do, everything's in order. And then it's just like, wham, no one's telling me what to do. Where are my guys? Was there some, transition period that you went through at that time? And what is one thing you wish you had in that moment that would have helped you make that transition smoother?
Okay. So this is fresh for me, Adam, because I've been on terminal leave for a few months, but July 1st was my first official day of of retirement from the Navy. Okay. So I can tell you right now what piece of that for me specifically is missing a little bit. Okay. And first off, the number one thing that I did prior to getting out, it's what we've been talking about this whole conversation. It's the introspection, the learning about myself, and the recognition that we take with us our blueprint, whether or not we've gone through this work and done this blueprint work or not. We build that over a lifetime. We've had it with us everywhere we've been, including the military, and we take it with us wherever we go next. And so knowing that, I know that I'm not defined by being a naval aviator. I know that I'm not defined by being a naval officer, by being a service member. That doesn't define me. And so while there are pieces of that I certainly miss, and we'll get to that here in a second, it is not what defines me. And so being really confident in that blueprint, in that identity, not being tied to a role that I was playing in the military, huge. It made the decision to get out easier, and it's made this transition a lot easier. Now, what do I miss? The team aspect, the ready-made team aspect. And if somebody were to examine my blueprint and get really into my purpose and cause, I already said it. It's teammates, it's team, it's empowering my teammates. And so spending 22 active and 4 at the academy, so 26 years of I got a place to go. And when I go there, I've got a team and we have a common mission. And that's what we're working towards. Day in and day out, I have that place to go. And then all of a sudden, you don't have that place to go where that team is ready and waiting to get after that mission. That's a big shift. That's a huge shift. And I knew it was coming, and it's still a huge shift. And so I think so what I'm trying to do for that now is building team for the business. First of all, I describe team and call you a teammate if we have a mutual respect for each other, a mutual interest in each other's success and growth. And right. So my family members are my teammates, my clients, et cetera. What I'm doing is building that. And what I would probably do a little bit better before the transition, what I would go back and do a little bit stronger, a little bit better, is build physical networks, because my physical friends in the physical location where I'm at right now, I don't have a ton.
Yeah.
And so I would do that. Like I would start to get out there, not network for like building business sake, but like I'm talking like friends, maybe finding other vets, people in the area who you can like go have a cup of coffee with whenever you help each other out. Because when you lose the team and you're trying to build your own thing, it's a huge difference. So I'd say that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You're fresh out of it, and you're speaking about one of our core values and bricks in the House of Bricks is the power of relationship capital. So I'm not very smart. I'm not very talented. I do have good hair, but, it's just meeting the right people at the right time. It's all about relationship capital. It is the most valuable capital. Anyone that has had success will tell you that. It's not just monetary success. It's in your faith, in your family, in your community. You don't need hundreds of friends. You give me, 10, 12 people and you can change the world. So, but yeah, that relationship capital is super valuable. You can't always build local relationships, right? It's tough. People have families, kids, sports, activities, business, whatever. But part of the reason we made this transition in the House of Bricks community is starting this Substack newsletter, just to connect people. We have investors in there, venture capitalists, CEOs. I'm featuring, we're calling trusted advisors, right? That can write articles on different topics, but just to give people an anchor for where they can connect and build relationships. And I've seen investments happen. I've seen businesses get funded. So there is value there. And, it's been really powerful for us. And we're trying to have veterans be a core piece of that as well, because they need those relationships. You may need an investor, you may need clients for coaching. So just creating that ecosystem of relationships and not forcing anything, but letting things, organically happen. So your current focus right now is, your tier one coaching around this blueprint leadership approach. What's the most exciting thing that you're doing, and what excites you the most about what you're doing now?
Oh man. What excites me most is just the ability to focus on my clients, and I'm there to empower them that's why you're hiring me. That's why we're in the relationship. I'd say what excites me the most from a project perspective is the Leadership Ready Room, which I and my partner have started, which is a peer coaching and leader development community. And the reason that energizes me so much is the team aspect. Leaders come in as a ready room of 6, and we teach you peer coaching. We teach you how to be there for each other and help each other coach each other through these issues, these challenges, and whatever it is you're going through. And we're building teams of six into one larger team. And so I am extremely energized by the thought that we could build a team like this, and who knows where it could go.
Well, I love it. And how's it going? I mean, the Leadership Ready Room community, is it a paid community? How do people get involved? Who's your ideal client or community member?
Just launching it. So ideal is a growth minded, so a leader who believes they can continue to develop, continue to learn, extremely confident in their abilities, and also understands that there's no way they could have experienced everything, so that they know every answer, right? So they're willing to learn and engage. They care about team. They care about helping others grow. And they believe in the power of being in the right room on a team like this, in the power for that to help them, not only them achieve and grow and do what they need to do, but also so that they can go back into their teams and help their teammates do the same things, right? And so just kicking it off, that you come in as a ready room of 6, you meet weekly with the ready room of 6. And then there's a larger leadership ready room where all the ready rooms come together periodically for both practitioner guest speakers, so people out there leading teams, and also I'm bringing in my experience in academia and bringing in academics who can talk about some of these leadership concepts as well. And so we're marrying, like we talked about earlier, we're marrying the reflection and the operational together so that it builds a more holistic picture. And so, yeah, excited about it.
And is it a paid community? And Paul, we're going to put your links in the tier1coaching.com, and people can find you on LinkedIn. We'll have all that. But is it a paid community? Again,
it's a paid community. You can pay annually or monthly. And what else do you want to know about it, Adam? It is
that was it. It's paid community.
Yep.
So I've gone through this with the community building for a year. So if you want advice, I'm here. I know Paul will help you on our team as well. So do we do the Netflix model? Is it monthly? Do we do annual? So we've gone through all those different pricing models. So we're happy to share you our failures and what you can learn from that to help you grow. So, I appreciate you joining today. We could talk for hours. I've definitely learned a lot here. Again, our mission is to empower veterans to transition from the battlefield to the boardroom. And this is exactly why. These are I read leadership books all the time, and I'm learning stuff today. So I appreciate you joining the House of Bricks. I want to thank you for your service and anything we can do to help support you on your journey. So as we wrap up, any closing thoughts for our listeners and listeners out there? I'm telling you, please get involved in any way you can. There's a lot of veteran service organizations out there. Please help us by spreading the word and, just really recognizing our veterans every day and thanking them with action, not just words.
Yeah. First off, Adam, thank you so much for having me on. Super grateful that you asked for me to come on the show. I love what you're doing with House of Bricks, and I certainly love the What the Truck mission, helping
Thank
out
you. I'm going to give you my
veterans.
son's phone number. You can call him
Yeah.
and tell him it's cool.
Super cool. I love it. I guess, man, the parting word would just be to kind of double click on what you just said. Vets have a lot. They have a unique blueprint, just like you do. First of all, thank you for your service. I know you were a vet as well. But they have unique blueprints, and they have all of these skills, these values, these passions, this purpose, and they're ready to put it to use in a different context. And all of these things I learned about myself, I put to great use in the military, and I'm putting them to great use outside the military. And every vet can do that. And so, man, just give them a chance and see what happens. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
I appreciate that. And yeah, so all of our listeners, again, thank you for joining another House of Bricks live. We're picking up the pace. My guy, Paul, he took a 2-week vacation, which I haven't ever had, I don't think, in 30 years. So hopefully he enjoyed that. But I am going to get every ounce of energy he saved up out of him between now and Christmas time. So, but again, thanks for joining the show, everyone. Check out tier1coaching.com. We'll have all the links for you, and we'll see you soon on House of Bricks Live.